I think the first decision is just realizing that if there's something broken in your life or if your plan's not working, then you need to arrive at the decision that you need something different, because a broken plan will give you a broken result.
This is Amy Walker, and welcome to the CEO Spot. Today's an interview day, and I love getting to bring you the content and the people that you need to connect with to be able to grow your business and win as an entrepreneur, but also love the journey of living your life as you grow that company. So today I'm excited. I get to talk to a rock star in business and life, and someone that I've been able to connect with and admire over the years. We've done a couple of events together, and Kris Krohn is he is a thinker. He is a big thinker. He's outside of the box. To him, making money is easy and simple and natural. And so when I thought of this idea that we needed to talk about wealth creation and how we sometimes get in our own way, he was the first person that popped into my mind. So I'm going to introduce Kris to you. But first, welcome.
Thank
you. Glad to have you.
I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here and connect with you and all the, you connect with so many amazing people around the world. And it's always a privilege and an honor to be able to interact with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited too. So Kris I told you he was a rock star. Now I'm going to tell you the stats that prove he's a rock star. He is an international speaker. He's a 3-time best-selling author. He's done nearly $1 billion of real estate investments. And he is one of the top 20 YouTubers, his channel, Kris Krohn, on YouTube, top 20 for real estate. And he's influencing people around the world to be able to create more freedom in their life, create more wealth in their life. And I was watching, this is actually what inspired this, Kris. I was watching one of your videos. It's a great video. And you basically laid out, here's what I did to be able to retire by age 26. This was my formula I followed. And I was sitting there watching, like, all good stuff, all good stuff. And then I looked into the comments, and what I saw was, this won't work. This doesn't work because, this doesn't work because. And I just thought, I wonder how many times that happens in life where we're searching for something, the answer pops up right in front of us, and we're like, oh, that won't work. It's too easy. That won't work. It has to be harder. So I wanted to have a conversation today about, how you got to the point where wealth creation was easy for you, because it probably didn't start out that way. You didn't probably come out of the womb making bucks, I'm guessing.
No, I certainly didn't. And in the beginning, I thought making money was hard. I didn't honestly have any self-confidence. I didn't think I was ever going to figure it out. And I was living in a very no world, because you and I mean, all kids come into this world. By the time we're 16 years old, parents have said no 50,000 times. It's just ingrained in our psyche to say no to everything. And yet when we become adults, we have to learn how to say yes. And yet we're still acting like kids that are saying no to everything. And so most of life's grand opportunities we'll never really see because of that.
So let's start with your backstory of how you went from, because you were newly married. By the way, one of the things I love and admire about you is that you are a family man. You have a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, totally dedicated to that life.
Yes.
And so you were newly married, trying to figure out life, just getting started, and the path that most people take, which is, I've got to go to school, I've got to get my education, I've got to get a job, I've got to get security. You bucked that path pretty quickly. How did you end up with that change of direction?
It was interesting. My dad was an entrepreneur, and when I saw how hard he had to work, he convinced me, he said, son, if you want to go somewhere in life, you got to go to college and get good grades. And so I just okay, I'm going to do that. And I want to be a doctor. So I had all this ambition, but frankly, I could not kick chemistry's butt. In fact, it kicked mine. I had to retake this one stupid organic chemistry class the second time, and I got a worse grade on my second go around. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the signs. This is not for me. And all of a sudden, college felt almost worthless to me, because I'm like, wait a second, there's no degree that I can find that'll make anywhere near as much money, which means that going to college is really just about learning how to work for somebody else. At least that's the way that I saw it. And I started looking very quickly outside the box because for me, I didn't know, I couldn't find anything, Amy, that I was really connecting with. I couldn't find anything that I felt passionate about. So I'm like, why would I spend 40, 50, 60 hours of my life every week for the next 40 years doing that thing? That just sounds like the plan that most people have, and it just sucks. And so I just decided early on, is like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be that plan. So that's kind of what got me outside the box.
Yeah, I love that. So you had the moment of realizing, and I think that there are a lot of people that can relate to that. They may not be in their 20s, they might be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, but
Sure.
looking at life and going, I am spending the majority of my breathing, thinking, living hours devoted to something that I'm looking at, when does this end? Instead of loving the journey. So you caught that earlier, but a lot of people I think are there where they understand that they want something different, but they don't know what to do next. How did you connect with what your step was?
Well, I think I had this really cool gift of an opportunity that didn't look like one. I had to put myself through college on my own. I didn't want to go into student debt. My wife didn't want that. So I got a job. I was full-time doing telemarketing, and like, not a dream job, but there was a silver lining. I spent
Mm-hmm.
all day long talking to people that were in their 50s and 60s, had been to college, had followed that route. And the majority of them, I got to then see, what did they produce? Most of these people, if they were really financially conservative and good savers, not entrepreneurs, just trying to kind of follow someone else's path and career path, or do something maybe that they like, most people at most would have maybe two, three, $400,000 in the bank. And I'm like, man, you're living off of 80 or $90,000 a year. That's going to last you like 4 or 5 years. You're going to run out. And when I
Mm-hmm.
realized that, I needed to find something outside the box. And I think the first decision is just realizing that if there's something broken in your life, or if your plan's not working, then you need to arrive at the decision that you need something different, because a broken plan will give you a broken result. And so once I made that decision, I became open-minded. I didn't know that I was going to find real estate investing. But what I did find was a series of people who had made millions of dollars as entrepreneurs, and they all just happened to do it through real estate. And what they shared in common was freedom. And I'm like, well, I like that
Mm-hmm.
result. So I caught the bug, and I latched onto this idea of finding homes at really good deals. And basically, over the next 4.5 years, by the time I graduated college, I bought 25 homes, all on the side, outside of my full-time job and full-time school career, right? And just that little bit of time on the side. In fact, when I bought my first house, it blew me away, right? Because this house, I was making at the time less than 20 grand a year. And the house I
Mm-hmm.
bought had over $40,000 of equity in it. And I thought, in just minutes of signing this document, I've increased my net worth more than double what I make working full time for 2 straight years. This is stupid. And so I felt like I'd found this ultimate shortcut. And ultimately, the people that had made millions of dollars that showed me the way, I mean, from the time I did it once, I'm like, I'm out of here. 25 homes later, I had a basic 6-figure residual income. Retirement really meant I had a level of financial freedom and no longer needed a job. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when I started living life on my terms. And that's when everything changed. Like, everything becoming free and breathing that fresh air and figuring it out and having it relatively passive really meant that my destiny was mine, and it was going to be my creation, not society's.
I love that. So why do we make it so hard? Because
Um,
I grew up in very in the box thinking as well. I think I was one of the first girls in my family. I think I was the first girl in my family to graduate from college. Like we are stay-at-home moms, and we have this box, and the guys go to college, they get a job, and we live the life kind of just getting by. So when I stepped into entrepreneurship, I battled my thinking and my limitations. And so why do you think we make it so much harder, and we always kind of make the harder path?
it's childhood. You can have the best parents with the best intentions, but a child is going to be a great observer of their experience, and they're going to be a horrible interpreter. I mean, I've got 4 kids of my
Mhm.
own. My oldest is 12, and I watch this process where, as kids, we have these experiences, and then what we decide about ourselves from it, often we walk away from a difficult or challenging or hard experience, and we say, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not fast enough. I'm too young. I'm too slow. I'm too old. We create all these judgments, and our brains will lock them in. And if you look, if we're focusing on wealth, Amy, Most of us have decided subconsciously in childhood that there's not enough money, that money is bad, or that it takes money to make money, or that there will never be enough, or you can't get it legitimately. And rich people, by the way, they stink, they're rotten, and they smelly, and they're weird. So we create all these notions around money. And ultimately, as an adult, we're like, okay, I need money. And when we go for it, we start battling that belief system when we don't know how to rectify the two. I didn't either, actually. It's weird, but I actually specialize in two different things. On my YouTube channel, I'm either teaching people how to create wealth, or I'm teaching them how to think like the wealthy, because in my opinion, you can't have one without the other. You got to get your thoughts and your actions to line up.
I agree. Because I'll be honest with you, I remember the first month that I made what was to me a huge amount of money. It was $14,000. And I remember freaking out like, oh my gosh, it's going to all be gone before I know it. And I mean, it freaked out my mind, because we had been for such a long time just in my mind, if we could just pay our bills, if we could just get by. And when we actually got there, the same scarcity that was there for me when I didn't have the money, it was the exact same thoughts were there for me that first time I got that check that I thought was gigantic at the time.
Yeah, money doesn't really solve problems. Changing your thinking does. And it's amazing that, there's a reason why lottery winners lose all of that money within 5 years. It's because if we didn't earn it or don't feel that we earned it, we can't allow ourselves to hold on to something. So when your mind freaks out and says $14,000, there's a party that says, hurry, go back to what's comfortable. And it's the weird thing, because the thing that's comfortable is the thing we don't want, but it's our habit. Because if you practice the wrong thinking long enough, what's wrong will seem right. And that's just kind of the weird thing about being human, is that our mind can discern between a penny and $1 million. And yet we can call $1 million bad, and we can call a penny bad. And as long as we stay in that negative mind, we're not actually going to elevate ourselves out of it. So to do that, you've got to actually confront your limiting notions, and you got to make new choices. I mean, ultimately, the way that you elevate yourself out of that space is by making choices different than you have in the past. For example, you got to ask yourself, is it bad to make money? Is it bad to, no, it's not, as long as I'm paying the bills. What about making a lot of money? Oh, well, I don't know. And it's almost like we have to go through and create an entirely new financial mind. That's why one of the events that I put on, it's coming up in January. What I do is I recreate the entire financial mind by combing through 1,000 limiting beliefs about money, and how you confront all those choices to make something new. If we don't make a new choice, though, you're only going to get yesterday's result.
Well, and I found that money's a magnifier. So money's not good or bad, but it's sure going to put a magnifying glass on all the good. And it's also going to put a magnifying glass on the bad. And so, if you make a lot of money and you are already a good, generous, giving person, you're going to do so much good in the world. If you were, not managing your money and being wasteful, that's going to get magnified as well. And it was maybe a small problem when there was small money, but if you bring in big money. So I do think that there's this period that we go through, at least for me. I needed to go through a period of really examining and understanding and studying my relationship with money before it started to flow for me.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
I do. And in fact, one of the things that I challenge people to do, Amy, is I challenge them to make the decision to be a millionaire. And the reason why is because mentally, that's going to trigger you. That's going to say, what? But let's be real. $1 million is not a lot of money. I mean, if you had $1 million at retirement and you put it in investments earning 10%, it would kick out $100,000 a year, or $8,000 a month. I'm sorry, $8,000 a month doesn't necessarily equate to the most lavish lifestyle. It probably means that you can cover your house payment, your basic niceties, take a couple of nice trips a year, and that's it, right? And so give yourself a thought that challenges you, maybe upsets you, ticks you off, so that you can start saying, whoa, I just stretched my mind by declaring I'm going to be a millionaire. Now I've got all this garbage coming up. Now let's start evaluating that garbage and actually testing it, not now as a child, but now as an adult. Does that idea serve me? Is that useful for me? Is that really true? Because you're going to find that you've got a lot of erroneous thinking, and that's why you're not getting the results that you want. You got to stretch your mind into the direction you want to go in. And $1 million it's a small, modest amount of money. It's something to be proud of if you achieve that at retirement. It's not the world, but it's a great start for getting your mind to say, whoa, let's go there.
So this is something that is funny. And I never realized it until someone pointed it out to me that, we talk about get rich quick schemes as it's a total negative, but get rich slow is not really ever rich, right? Like I have earned well over $1 million, but because, I've earned it in increments, it doesn't mean that I have $1 million. So this idea, like pretty much anybody who works their entire life is going to earn over $1 million in their lifetime, but it
True.
doesn't mean that they have anything to show for it. So
Yeah.
what do you think when you see people who feel like they're always concerned about the get rich quick? What's your answer to that?
At some point we've got to put our biases away, because the biggest opportunities, at least in my world today. So just to give you an idea, I just got back from being in a 2-day think tank in New York with some of the most brilliant minds, individuals that have done over $1 billion in business. They were evaluating a company they wanted me to be a part of. And the month before that, I was in India learning from one of my billionaire financial mentors. And before that, I was in Dubai. I put myself in the proximity of individuals that are up to big things and doing really big things. And I do that to stretch my mind and stretch possibilities and make things that seem far out there actually closer to me, that there's actually a deeper proximity. So a part of what I'm doing is I'm always out there stretching my mind and interacting with individuals that really push my thinking, so that I can constantly be in the space of evaluating my thoughts and the negative thoughts and the ones that aren't serving me, so that eventually I can get them done with. And here's what that does. These people I'm hanging out with, Amy, they're doing ideas that make them so much money so fast that any normal person would say, oh my gosh, that's get rich quick. But for them, get rich quick is actually, in many cases, it's normal, and it's also safer. Sometimes get rich slow means you have such a low margin that you have a way higher risk. It's like when I do a real estate deal, I just sold a house and made $138,000. Now I had to split that with my partner. And so we each made around $65,000, somewhere around there. Well, if I had tried to make $20,000 on the house, I would have way higher risk, because if something went bad, that could have hurt me. By actually making way more money, I create a way higher safety margin. And that's what I think of when people are like, oh, if it's get rich quick, it's too good to be true. I'm like, those are the thoughts of an uneducated mind that has not put themselves in the way of enough opportunity. It's also the mind that has never learned how to say yes. And it's, more importantly, Amy, the mind of someone that did take a risk, said yes, and failed, and then said, that's it, this will never work out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm an entrepreneur. I got to fail dozens of times before I get to have a really big win. Like, you want to fail once and then go cry baby and act like a traumatized child that says it's all over? Well, entrepreneurship is where you find some of the biggest winnings and gains in life, being a business owner. And at some point, you got to stop looking at failure as a bad thing and saying, this is a lesson. I'm either making money or I'm earning lessons. Because a lot of times in the beginning, especially, I'm not that bright. I'm not that educated. I've got to actually learn and grow and put myself out there, and not set myself up for an expectation that if I do it once, it's going to work. And that's just rare for most entrepreneurs, even when you have great mentors. And so, yeah, the whole idea of get rich quick, you got to find a way to actually put that behind you, because it might be true, but if you're wrong, you lose.
Right. Well, and the opposite, get rich slow. Nobody wants that, because
It's
you're
the
not
40-year
accumulating
broken
enough
clock.
along the way. So,
Yeah, so true.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about this idea of putting yourself in big thinkers, or in the space of big thinkers, because I went through a very stagnant year in my business at one point. And when I analyzed, I thought, why am I feeling so stagnant? And it was because I was the one with the answers for everybody else.
Yeah, you were a
And
big
if
fish
you
in a
are
small pond.
yeah, if you're the biggest thinker, then there's nobody that's causing you to stretch. So I went and I got myself in a mastermind program with other 7-figure women. And it was like, okay, here's what's causing me to stretch. So I think that's very wise and very important for everyone who's listening. And they're just at this point where maybe $1 million is a stretch for them. Maybe 100,000 is a stretch for them. I don't know where everyone is at on the journey. What are some of your early mentors, books, workshops, things that are accessible, not in Dubai, but in your living room?
Yeah, totally. First of all, I just want to comment on this idea of stretching the mind. You want to create a daily habit of stretching the mind. If you don't stretch your mind, you'll only function on yesterday's ideas and thoughts and beliefs. And that's how you put you're dead. You're already dead. You're just a robot repeating yesterday's pattern, and the good ones will serve you and the bad ones won't. And then you're going to get mediocrity. That's my personal belief system. And if there's one loathing that I have in life, it's for mediocrity. Like I cannot stand mediocrity, which means everyday nobility is being better today than yesterday. Stretch. Just right now, if you're watching this and like $1 million seems like a lot of money, or whatever an amount seems like a lot, I want you to actually say, I'm a millionaire. Actually believe it, present tense, speak it, and actually allow your mind to stretch on it. Say, wait a second, that's not true. And just start that process. For me, my mentors, I'll tell you, Amy, why they really came in though, to answer your question. When I was making less than $20,000 a year, and I knew that the average American, I thought, hey, I'm at least average or maybe hopefully a little better. But the average American was making 44 grand a year at the time. And I said to myself, okay, I worked my butt off and I'm in this commission-ish sales job and I made, $18,600. I'm going to challenge myself to double my income because it'll still be below the national average. And that next year I did double my income and I was still below average. But as a college kid earning close to what the national person does, I actually felt good about it. But I had practiced 365 days of believing I could double my income. So when it came to the next year, I said, let's just do it again. And because I had been believing it for 365 days, it was easy to step into, and I challenged myself and I doubled my income. Well, year over year, I kept doubling my income until I got up to $500,000. And I thought, oh, great. I've been doing this for a few years now. We'll just double my income. That'll be making $1 million. And once my mind said, I reached this ceiling, that $1 million, I said, you can be worth $1 million. You can make millions in a lifetime, but you can't make $1 million in a year. That's what my belief system said. And guess what? I still set the goal. And that next year, I only made $500,000. And the next year, $500,000. And the next year, $500,000 until I broke free. And I just want to share with you that the answer to your question and how I broke free from that pattern was with mentors. Now, I'm going to say something maybe that I don't know if it's going to be appreciated or not, but books are good mentors. Even joining me on YouTube and learning how to create wealth, that would be a great strategy. But I want you to know that books and information will only get you so far. When you take information and put it into action, that can be scary because when you talk back to the book and say, are you sure I'm doing it right? The book doesn't have any answer for you, but a mentor does. So at some point, you should always be reading because readers are leaders. You should always be watching videos from people you admire, YouTube channels. There's great information, but you got to elevate yourself from free or near free information to get ideas. And you got to next level get a mentor. A mentor will stretch you. And a mentor is how I broke free into the $1 million plus a year and then kept on doubling every year. So Amy, as far as what books to read, dude, challenge yourself to read 1 or 2 books a month at least. At the end of the year, have read a couple dozen books. And trust me, read the ones that connect with you, that are in the area of weakness. If you're trying to make money, then read the money books and then watch the money videos online, like my YouTube channel, for example. And then from there, you got to ask, all right, it's time to put this into practice. Go from information to mentor, and a mentor will talk back and help you know, oh, bad idea, good idea, and help you move forward the right way.
I 100% agree because I'll tell you, I did it the hard way at first, which is I tried to be an uneducated entrepreneur who just was good at what I did. That was hard. That was the hardest. And then I started realizing my mind was getting in the way and I started reading the books and I started getting the information. And what that did for me was that opened up my mind that there was another way to do it. But it was not until I hired my first mentor that it actually started to change for me as well. So I completely agree. I think it kind of goes in levels where free information will give you awareness of what else is out there. But for me, it didn't create more income. It wasn't until I actually had some skin in the game and a real person to be like, actually do it this way. I started to adjust and change.
And I want to share one more thing on that, Amy, that has been very true for me. When I was young and dumb and poor, investing in myself, no one was telling me to do that other than through college. And so I could go tens of thousands of dollars in debt to give myself a college education. But you know what? Outside of college, we're not willing to invest in ourselves. We stop reading, we stop investing ourselves. And if I have one guilty pleasure that I've probably spent more money on than anything that I absolutely have come to love, is I love playing this game. I love finding my next mentor. And when I invest in myself, I declare what I want it to give me. I don't just go in saying I want to learn more. I declare a specific outcome and I'll challenge myself. And sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. But with nearly every expenditure of paying for a mentor, My goal is always to get at least a 5X or a 10X return. And what I've been doing over the years is I've been leveling up my game. Like this year, I bought into a $150,000 mastermind. It's definitely one of the more expensive investments I've made into myself. And right now I'm 8 months in, and I've to date have done about $850,000 of additional income on that 150,000. It's not surprising to me. I went in and I said, I'm not going to judge these people. I'm going to decide right now this was the best choice that I've already made. And then I went to basically go get my 5X or 10X return. And I'm in the process of doing that. I've already made my 5X. I'm going for my 10X. And it's a game now of, and I love investing in me. That's how I keep stretching this thing and beasting it so that I'm the commander. My spirit's in charge of this body. It's in charge of this mind, and it's in charge of my emotions. And I'm letting it know every day with the more mentoring that I'm getting and putting to practice that I'm in charge. You listen to me. That way, when I hear a great idea or that get rich quick thing comes along or the next deal comes along, I've trained myself to be able to snatch it up and go get it instead of having that
Yeah.
negative mind that says, no, I can't.
I think these opportunities that we are looking for and praying for show up in front of us all the time. And we sometimes disqualify because our mindset isn't there. So I really wanted to have you on to have this conversation because I 100% know that you have got this covered, that understanding of you've got to open up the mind. And as I was watching your channel, I thought, I want all my people to be able to have access to this different way of thinking about wealth creation, and let it be easy and let it be fast and let it be a gift and a blessing and a wonderful, beautiful thing that you use to make the world a better place. So thank you, Kris, so much for being on. Would you share with our viewers what's the best way for them to get connected with you?
Yeah, if anything I've said here has resonated, my name, Kris Krohn, Kris and Krohn. You can go to my website, kriskrohn.com. You can go to my YouTube channel, Kris Krohn. And I even have some of my books for free that you can download. But if you're looking for a way to develop greater wealth in your life, my YouTube channel, become a subscriber. And every day I have a new video coming out. And every video is dedicated to answering the biggest financial questions that people are having out there trying to find their way. And I hope that ends up being a useful gift and a useful tool for you.
Awesome. And for all of you that are watching, make sure that you subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. We're also putting out new content every day, and you get interviews every Tuesday and Thursday. And please share this with somebody in your network that you want to expand their mind, and together you can start thinking and dreaming bigger. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.